Is data mining still pretty hot?
Yeah,
The...
yeah. There's been a bit of a discussion because we're planning further ahead now.
Yeah.
So we've got content planned quite a way now. Not all of it mapped out, but there's bits and pieces ahead, and it's like, well, how do we can't do it the same way where we just throw everything in the client because they'll see it. And then if some of it's not going to come out for ages, that is a problem.
Yeah.
I've always thought it would be real fun to purposely put like a text file in there or something that says like
it's ridiculous
final ultra boss or something like that just for data miners to find.
There have been some data miner only bits of things.
Oh, that's great. And I reckon it should just be like a picture of Chris giving the finger or something, and the people
an ASCII.
yeah, or something that's just like a real like joke thing to be like Hey, welcome to Front Seat Gamer, episode 74. I'm not Nick. I'm Blake. I'm here with Severn.
Hey, Blake.
Nick is away, so we have our good friend Carl coming in.
Hello.
So how's it going, man?
Yeah, pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. I'm good.
Feels weird.
It does feel
this
weird.
lack of Nick.
Yeah, I mean, we rely on Nick so much for like
filling in all the gaps.
Filling in the gaps. So get ready for a gap-filled podcast, I guess.
He's taken some time off. I think it'll be a few episodes without him, but we promise we'll have him back when he's sorted his
life out.
Yeah. Yep.
When he's got his shit together.
He will be back.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's getting married?
Yep.
And he's got family visiting.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's got to look for a new place to live.
Yep.
All at the same time.
Are we all going to his wedding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happily, he's got that the week after we've got our big release, not the same weekend as the big release.
What a nice guy.
Yeah.
That's how much of a good guy Nick is.
Otherwise, it would suck for him to miss his own wedding if he had to go.
That's right. Sorry, you needed it at work.
Yeah. So what have you guys been playing?
I've been playing some Shadow of Colossus.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's an old ass game. It's been remade.
But you're playing the new version, right?
Yeah, of course.
No, man, you're playing the PlayStation 2 version. You want to feel that difference when you play the new one.
Yeah. So yeah, I picked that up, and it's I don't know what to say about it. I'm enjoying it. Is that enough?
You didn't play the original, right?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And the structure's kind of weird because you kill a guy, and you feel like a jerk for killing this thing.
Yeah.
But then you're automatically like respawned back into this temple
that
you start in. I'm not sure what's going on there. They don't really tell you very much like with what's going on.
Does it have any dialogue?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But you're pretty much a jerk and you're killing these really cool colossi.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all I've got.
Yeah.
And
that's weird, right? You feel like a jerk for like killing these things.
Yeah, I get the feeling like that's gonna
come back at you.
Be more explored like towards the end of the game. But I'm a dude and I've got a significant other who is incapacitated somehow.
Yeah.
And for some reason I have to kill these colossi in order to save her. Is what like that? That's
they've got what she needs, right, or something. Some sort of
I don't know
spirit medicine or something.
I don't know, but my character seems to believe that she can be saved.
Yeah.
If I kill these huge stone monsters.
And do they nail the sense of scale? Does it feel awesome?
Yeah, that is awesome. It is really epic. Like every time you kind of go in to kill a colossi, the orchestra like comes on. They've got like a unique track playing in the background, and it's really epic because you're just looking up at this thing, like every single one. And the designs are pretty cool. Like no two fights are the same. Hair tech is on point.
Wow.
It's really cool. Yeah, so I like it. It's just boss battles.
Yeah.
And how many colossi have you taken out?
I think I'm like 7 deep right now.
7 colossi.
Yeah.
Are they? Then, do you ever get stuck on one, and are you just like, I just have to like throw myself at this thing until I beat it?
Well, I'm currently stuck on one
Yeah.
right now, and it's annoying because I have to kite this thing,
Oh yeah.
and they don't move very quickly.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll describe the environment. There are like geysers.
Yeah.
Like on the bottom, and you have to kite them anyway. And I'm stuck with that one. I think I put about 20 minutes into it, and I was like, I'm just gonna put this down. I'm not
Right.
really getting anywhere.
Yeah.
One of the annoying things about this game is I think it's just a controller thing because they give you a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And I just don't think bow and arrows are fantastic in on console games.
Oh man,
You know what I mean?
Breath of the Wild, dude.
Is it good?
Yeah, because it's got the motion for
adjust
the
it?
fine aiming. Like since playing that,
Yeah.
and going back to like Horizon straight afterwards, I was like, man, this is like a past. This feels like a past generation almost. Like we
Huh.
should be beyond this now and just be, having the motion control doing the fine tuning because it felt so natural.
You know what's interesting is like the DualShocks are capable of doing that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
And for some reason
they just don't.
they don't use it in this
Yeah.
game.
I played Tomb Raider on a controller, and I thought bow combat and that worked okay.
Okay. Do they do any locking? Because I remember playing COD games, and it would kind of like automatically pull the cursor, like
So I think
crosshair
there's
over.
this bit when you first like raise the bow, it kind of locks, so you can kind of do this thing where you drop it and then raise it again. But that one you've like I think one trigger to pull back,
Yep.
and it's got for the bow it's quite a long draw
Mm.
to set up and take your shot.
Right. The Shadow Colossus is pretty rough. I haven't figured it out. The
Yeah.
camera controls are pretty rough, in my
That-
opinion.
Is that because it's what 15-year-old game really?
True to the PS2.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Couldn't tell you. Maybe.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm not liking that.
Yeah.
Outside of that though, really enjoying the game.
That's cool.
Like the I'm a big fan of rocks in video games.
Oh
and the-
shit!
Dude, they've got some rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Moving giant rocks,
Yeah, that's
colossal rocks.
I think now, like with ArtStation, it's cool because with these huge releases, you kind of see art for these games come out as
Yep,
well. And
yep.
so there was a huge art dump on
Oh,
ArtStation
yeah.
for Shadow of Colossus art. Got to see some of those rocks. I happen to be working on rocks for Path of Exile,
Yeah.
so it's very cool to see how other studios treat
Oh my
rocks.
God. Is there a man? There should be like a Discord channel for just like artists that work on rocks, and you can just like
Yep.
talk about rocks and
just an
brainstorm about
ongoing thing,
rocks
man.
and rock techniques.
Yeah. It's such a huge thing. Dude, I've always been working on rocks.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I appreciate good rocks.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and they've got them.
Yeah. Well, I remember when you were playing the Battlefront beta, the first new Battlefront,
Mm-hmm.
not the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And you were playing it at work, and you were like, "Bro, check out these rocks."
Yep. Yeah, they do the detailed map thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's real cool.
Hey man, like it's such a big part of environment art.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's Shadow of Colossus. So I'm still playing it.
Oh
and I think I'll be playing it for the next couple of weeks.
yeah. What about you, Carl?
So I've played a lot of Endless Space 2, which is a
Oh, yeah.
Space 4X game that just keeps dragging me back.
So we've also got really into Stellaris. So,
So
how
I-
do they compare?
They're very, well, I think to people who don't play this kind of game, they'll look identical, but
Yeah.
they're very different to me. But I haven't played Stellaris for months because, like, months ago they promised all these updates, and they're not out yet.
You were
And-
saying,
And as soon as they promised them, I'm like, well, I can't play anymore. I've got to have, like, they promised new war system and new area control system, and I thought, well, I'll wait for that.
Yeah.
And then they like announced it 3 weeks after their last content dump, and then it's like then a 4-month wait for it. So I've been playing Endless Space 2 instead, and it's turn-based, but it's real systems kind of based. So I've been enjoying getting deep in the systems of that, and it's got a fair bit of lore and story going on, which is pretty cool.
it's all connected right? All their games.
Yes, and their most recent expansion like tied all their games together.
Oh yeah.
So there's these guys called the Vaulters who are in Endless Legend and Dungeon of the Endless, and they're basically these sci-fi people who are in this like Ark ship or something, and it gets lost on this planet and stuck. And so Dungeon of the Endless, they're going into the ship finding all the secrets. And in Endless Legend, they've escaped from the Ark and they're in this like fantasy world, really science fiction world, but it's presented as fantasy. And then they find out a way to escape off. They take off in their spaceship, but that gets hit by a missile or something. And And then the expansion, they added the Vaulters, and they sort of turn up surrounding this artifact. They've just sort of drifted there. And then you get to start your like 4X space game in endless space with the Vaulters.
That is cool. Can you play Endless Legend as them, go through it until you complete the game, and then start up like Endless Space as them?
You can totally do that.
That's so cool.
It won't carry anything between them, but the story will follow on.
Yeah, in your mind, you're like, these are the same people.
Yeah, and in the Dungeon of the Endless, there's like this hero you get called Opbot, that's this robot. And then like all the story in Endless Space 2 is like focused on Opbot going off and disappearing, and he's like saved you initially on this big ship called the Argosy. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know nothing about Endless Space.
Okay. So they're a French studio, so some of their I don't think all the designers are French, but they've got some French fantasies usually feels really different to like sort of English-based fantasy, so the races and stuff feel really different. But basically, ancient space civilization called the Endless, they had this nanotech dust that responds to your thoughts. So you think it and it does it, and that's like the currency.
Oh,
So
is that
kind of
actually
like-
what it is?
Yeah,
I
it's meant
didn't
to be
know it
this
was like
nanotech stuff.
nanotech. I thought it was just like spice, basically. Like,
Yeah,
just
well,
like,
it kind of is, but it responds to your thoughts. And then
Yeah.
all the heroes in the game are like people who master using this dust to do stuff.
right, yeah.
So when you pay X amount of dust to buy out a system advancement, it's not that you just paid some money and someone finished it for you. You're like sort of magicking it up kind of thing.
You're nanoteching it up.
You're nanoteching it up. That's right. But it is hard. It's basically a space game with numbers and spreadsheets with some pretty graphics and UI covering it.
Yeah. It looks really nice, like from what I've seen. Like,
yeah, it's got a really nice UI.
yeah,
And it's got some subtle touches, like you've got the pictures of the planets, but if the planet's got an anomaly on it, there'll be actually a graphic on the planet that
cool.
lines up with that.
I've always thought that studio has done really, really good UI design, like in all their games. Like, it's just nice and clean and just nice. Like, it's
Yeah, Endless Space 2 has this nice thing where you use the mouse wheel and it like sort of scrolls all the way out and all the way in. You don't really notice there's different screens because you just sort of flip between them somewhat seamlessly.
yeah.
Which is because it's a really systemsy, numbersy kind of game. It actually helps you understand what's going on because there's like
What's the combat like? Because I remember the combat in Endless Space 1 and I really didn't like it.
So I didn't like it at first. It sort of set and forget, and then you sort of had arbitrary results. But the more I get into it, the more I'm liking it.
From what I saw, it looked like you start off with two sort of armadas coming at each other, and you sort of you're basically running a play, right? Like a football play or something.
Yeah,
You're
so
telling
you
it
get
to
the strategy
do certain
and you
things.
choose what it is, and then
Yeah.
your weapons matter. And then it just sort of shows it to you.
Yeah.
But once you sort of understand how that works, it gets a bit more interesting.
Mm.
What I actually initially I just sort of ran them and saw the results, but actually after watching them to see why I lost or won, something was useful, and then it helped pick weapon systems and stuff.
That's real cool. Because the first one, I remember it was just you just seemed to be picking cards and
Yeah, the first one I think had some flaws, and
Yeah.
missiles were too good. But then Endless Legend had this like you moved everything around the map, and that was pretty cool.
I like that. Especially compared to like Stellaris, which is just like two big fleets meet and then they just brawl for a while, and then maybe you can like you either win or you can maybe escape
watch the
in
numbers
time.
go down.
Yeah, you just look at the numbers. You're not even looking at the ships. You're just watching those numbers either go down.
What about you, Blake?
Oh man, I've been
How's Monster Hunter?
dude, Monster Hunter's cool.
Is it?
Yeah, dude. I didn't think I would get into it as much as I have because I like on paper it just sounds like a grind. You're just like, yeah, you kill monsters to get gear so you can kill bigger monsters and get better gear.
Yep.
But man, there's something about it. Like
preparing for the hunt.
Preparing for the hunt is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like the hunt is like actually quite cool as well. Like I've picked a weapon that is it's a gun,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like switching between ammo types.
Okay.
And I'm really liking like that sort of hunter, like outdoorsman kind of feel of like, oh, I'm running out of this. I've run out of this type of ammo. I got to switch to like this other, like secondary ammo or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going up against a monster where it's like they're weak against this type of ammo, so I hit them with this. And then when there are different phases during the fight, so that you'll weaken the monster to a certain point and then it'll run off to somewhere else,
mm-hmm.
and you chase after it. And while you're doing that, I'm looking in the environment for the ingredients I need to make more of the ammo type that I need against it.
Okay.
And it just feels like this like scavenging and like, like
you're constantly doing that.
Yeah, I feel like a Bear Grylls kind of guy that's just like looking at all the poop and being like, oh, I can use this to put into this like ammo. I can use this to put into that. And yeah, and I really, really like that. And like they've got so many weapon types that are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But like the gun one is probably the simplest one because it's just aim and shoot. But like others have like tons of combos and all this sort of stuff. But like, so there's a huger range of like play styles. But like, yeah, the gun one is that's
well,
mine.
why did the gun appeal to you?
Because it's simple.
Okay, because it sounds like a ranged character in Path of Exile. You just stand back and you want to shoot at this thing.
Yeah, I play a ranger in Path of Exile. So.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. But I started. So now I've that stuff is cool. Like that's awesome and that's fun on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But now I've started looking into armor stats and weapon stats and like what to upgrade,
mm-hmm.
and it just opens.
You're falling down the well.
Yeah. I've started looking up wikis for things. Like you really get into like, okay, I'm starting to think like, okay, I need a secondary weapon for hunts where I am going to incapacitate the monster.
Okay.
Because depending on what gun like upgrade tree or tech tree you go through, you can use different types of ammo.
Mm-hmm.
Like no gun can use all the types of ammo.
Okay.
And some guns are like have different characteristics. For example, I was using just like my standard hunting rifle for ages,
mm-hmm.
and upgrading that through the bone tree.
Mm-hmm.
So I was basically searching bone piles for like bone pieces to upgrade this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then at a certain point I saw that I could branch off into a different section which uses this like T-Rex parts.
Okay.
And I was like, it does more damage, it has more access to ammo types, and I was like, this sounds great. So I had to hunt this T-Rex guy a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Got that upgrade, but then it changed the way my ammo reacts with my gun. So
Okay.
I was used to, there was a particular ammo type I like called piercing, and I could run and gun with that.
Yeah.
With this new gun, he can't run and gun. He stops and shoots once.
Yep.
And
You're more of a tank.
Yeah. And I was like,
T-Rex.
oh no, this is changed my play style. This one upgrade has changed my play style.
Yep.
But that gun also has 2 mod slots. So I put recoil suppression in there twice, stacked it twice, and now I can run and gun again.
Nice.
And so I like there's all this mod stuff as well that you have to like take into account, and it's a rabbit hole. Like it's a rabbit hole that you slowly go down and don't realize how deep it is.
How much time do you think you've put into it since the last time we recorded?
Man, I probably haven't put that much time into it because I don't know, maybe like 20-something hours, I reckon.
That's substantial.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's not like story progress.
Mm.
That's me being like, I want to upgrade my gear,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm going to hunt these things a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And that's me like coming home after work and spending like maybe an hour or 2 hunting a couple of monsters.
Yeah.
And, upgrading my gear and not actually going through the story.
Huh.
Yeah.
But there's like no interest for you to get back into the story?
No,
there
there totally is. It's just like, that's what's cool about it, is that like, I am interested in the story.
Mm.
But at the same time, I'm like, if you just go through the story, you're missing out on opportunities to upgrade stuff and get like more. Well, I mean, that's how you get more gear, is like fighting monsters and crafting it. So if you want like a full set of something, or you want certain pieces, you need to hunt certain monsters. So you might need to go back to areas and hunt like that T-Rex. Like that was in the first area. That was the boss basically of that first area.
Huh.
And I fought him once in a actual story mission, and then like later on came back and was like, oh, I want to upgrade my gun with this guy's body parts.
Yeah.
So I hunted him like a couple more times and upgraded the gun. But the story does, like if you just follow the story, you don't do that at all. You just keep going forward.
Yeah.
But you, like if you don't do that, I think you're going to be kind of underpowered, because like that is the game, is like upgrading stuff, and sometimes you just see like gear that just looks cool, and you're like, I kind of want, like, I know it's like not the greatest stats on this thing, like it's, but man, it looks real cool.
Yeah.
Or it gives you like it gives you like an armor, a skill, because armor pieces have skills on them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have armor pieces, if you have like like a chest piece that has an attack boost, right, that's cool. But then if you get like gloves that also have an attack boost, that stacks to like level 2, and it's a bigger like attack boost thing. So when you start looking at that, then you really start being like, how do I optimize my armor for what I want to do?
Yep.
And that's when it starts getting real deep into like, I need to hunt these particular monsters, and things like that. So yeah, it's such a damn rabbit hole, like that game, and it is fun a lot. I really like it.
It looks cool. I've seen GIFs, man. Have you buddied up with anyone?
No, I haven't. I haven't got PlayStation Plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why not?
Because I don't know, man. I think I'm just an antisocial gamer.
Yeah, all right.
Like I have a small group of friends that I'll play like co-op stuff with. Like we're talking about playing Sea of Thieves or Divinity. We were playing a while back. But like, if I'm not playing with them, I'm pretty much just want to play a single player game.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I don't want to buddy up with people like randoms,
Okay.
Because that's the thing. You can, you shoot the flare gun, and then a random person can show up and do some stuff, and it's like, nah.
But you don't even want to risk it.
I don't want that. I even in Dark Souls, where I did that once, where I put the chalk down and got a random stranger to come in and help me with the boss. Mm-hmm. Still got wasted. So I was like, this is a waste of time. I'll just do this myself. Like, forget about it.
That one time burned you.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just like,
won't do it in any other game.
Just like, what's the point? Yeah. Yeah, that game is cool. But Carl, you were also telling me about another game.
Nantucket.
Yeah.
So Nantucket is a whaling simulator, like 19th century whaling out of Nantucket. Weirdly, it's kind of presented like a sequel to Moby Dick. You play Ishmael, and for some reason you decide you'll go off and become a whaling captain yourself and go hunt Moby Dick at the end. So you're like managing your crew, and you've got to get your reputation so you can get a good crew, but then good crew wants a bigger treasure share. And you're upgrading your ship and your boats and your harpoons, and eventually you get bigger ships, and you get like your own rending station so you can boil down the whale blubber and stuff, and you find out where the whales are, and you go, oh, the right whales are migrating here between March and November, so I've got to make sure my path crosses back over by South America where the right whales are. Yeah, and then in the end you gear up and you fight Moby Dick, and it's kind of cool, but it's got some weirdnesses to it.
You fight Moby Dick.
You do end up fighting Moby Dick, yeah.
And you've got a harpoon gun.
Well, you get your little 3 boats, and they get into the water. Yeah. And you've got your crew on each one, and they've got their harpoons, and you go off and you fight whales.
Because what's the actual UI of the game? It's not like
so the UI, the map is all like looks like a map.
Yeah.
Like a cartographer's map, and it shows all the the wind movement on it and stuff. And then the actual combat has got this weird dice and card kind of mechanic going on. So it's then got sort of pictures of whales and your crew. So it's not realistic in any sense. It's, you know, a bunch of stats and numbers, which apparently are
you like
doing
that,
the game.
you know, after Endless Space 2.
Yeah. And then you've got all your crew's got traits, and I think the story Blake wants me to tell is
Yeah,
I
just
joked,
waiting.
it's the only game I've ever played with strategic sodomy. So your crew can have these different qualities, like they can be drunkards or they can be studious or something. And there's a story event where you say, oh, you come across two of your crew and they're like going at it. And you can either like, well, do you be an uprighteous religious captain and whip them, or do you just politely ignore them, or do you join in? And it's like, oh, this is kind of an odd thing to add. But it was like, oh, if you join in, you get the trait sodomite, that's the they,
Right.
and you get morale boosts if the crew shares traits with you, and then it's like, oh, 50% risk of syphilis.
Oh,
it's
shit.
like, oh no, I don't think I'll take that risk. So it's got all that mathy stuff as well as trying to.
So what did
do
you
the
do?
story
You just let them.
I just
let them
ignored
have
them,
at it,
and then that was an extra trait they got.
Oh man, do they have a chance to get syphilis?
I think they do, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That didn't seem to happen though.
Yeah.
But I'm much more worried about the one who's a drunkard, because he drinks through your rum. Because every time you go to port, you've got to buy water and food and rum and wood for repairing your ship.
Yeah.
And
You've got to buy rum for this.
you've got to
junket.
buy rum. Like, you're on a ship in the 19th century.
Yeah.
There's a rum ration.
Yeah.
So if someone's a teetotaler, they don't drink rum, but that's the only case.
Ah.
But if someone's a drunkard, they'll go through your rum a bit faster.
Yeah. And what happens when you run out of rum?
Well, then the crew's morale will drop pretty fast.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want, it's, you know.
You can't lie to him and say, you know,
Have this
way-
water? No, I'm not
Have
that
this
old.
water.
No. A drunk crew is like, you're on a ship. It's difficult. You know, you're not gonna survive 19th century
Yeah.
water life apparently without your rum. in
That's
the
hilarious.
evening.
You can't give him a pep talk and be like, "Hey, man, your drinking's hurting the crew."
So I think in the
You
in
gather
the
the
British
crew.
Navy,
Yep.
like the sailors, like there was actually an upset in the recently, like a decade or so ago, when they finally removed the rum ration or whatever
Whoa. Yeah.
from British sailors.
This is recent.
Yeah, like I seem to like it was. Apparently, it did cause an upset in the Royal Navy because,
Wow.
like in the 19th century,
Yeah.
every sailor was guaranteed rum every evening or
Yeah,
something.
Huh.
It's like a shot of rum, right?
Yeah.
That's what their ration is, like a shot a day or something like
Okay.
that. Like, man, your life must be pretty crap if like that's
That's what gets you through.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
I can't wait for my shot of rum tonight. Like that's
Yeah.
it.
Well, could you hide the rum from the rum head?
Oh, you can if someone's actually like drinking it faster than their allowance, you can whip them. There's a lot
Yep.
of whipping in this game.
Oh man.
A lot of corporal punishment of your crew to keep them in line, but
Oh,
that
man.
doesn't keep them happy either.
Can you? How much like control over hiring and firing crew?
Heaps.
Yeah, so you can
And-
just fire that guy
But-
and get a new.
so
new
you
one.
need to get more reputation so you can hire people.
Yeah.
And I think if you keep firing people, your crew gets upset as well.
Yeah.
So you want to get some crew and get good ones and train them up, because if you try and get experts later, they'll want a huge chunk of your treasure.
Oh yeah.
So you've got to build up your reputation as a captain to get the good crew.
Yep.
For the whaling.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. So, but it's this weird mix of they're trying to do the storytelling thing as well as doing this hardcore whaling simulator.
Yeah, like it sounds more fun almost just as an open world thing.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I kind of, the Moby Dick stuff didn't work for me. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I don't think, having read it, and there's a lot of crazy detail on whaling in the book,
yeah,
but it's like, I think they missed the point. Ishmael's not going to be going off there trying to, I think they should have either just done Moby Dick, the original
Yeah.
story, and you do that as a whaling simulator, or they just said, oh, it just happens to be you're in Nantucket
yeah.
and happening to be whaling.
So Ishmael is in it.
Ishmael is your main character.
Oh,
in it.
okay.
Who's the character who like tells the story of Moby Dick?
Yeah.
Who was just a sailor on
Right.
Ahab's ship, but he was the only survivor. So.
Yeah. So it's just they were just like, what's a famous whaling thing that we can put into our game?
I don't know
And
what their reasoning was,
Yeah.
but I think that's the only thing that people recognize.
yeah, I mean, it totally is. Yeah.
And the other game I've been playing is Fortnite, which I've been playing with my 11-year-old.
Cool. Oh, dude, how good is your 11-year-old?
He's fairly good.
Because I've been playing with a bunch of mates, and like one of my mates has a nephew who's like 14, and he's clearly the best player in our entire group.
My 14-year-old at shooters is
Yeah.
just amazing. My 11-year-old's not. I think when you're mid-teens is when you're best
okay.
at shooters, I suspect. But the problem is in Fortnite you only get to play duo mode at certain times.
Oh, okay.
Like, so it's either squads or solo. Squads is teams of 4, and duo mode kicks in at a certain time in the evening.
Huh.
And so playing with my 11-year-old, we want to play duo mode, just
Right.
with him and me against the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other weird thing is he calls everything in the game by its PUBG name,
Well,
and he's never played PUBG.
oh, he's been watching PewDiePie, probably.
Oh, it's just when you play with people, everyone refers to everything in Fortnite by what it's called in PUBG.
Wow. I didn't know
Now,
that.
admittedly,
That's
PUBG's
interesting.
kind of got real world names for
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
But it's like, oh yeah, go get the scar, and it's not called a scar in Fortnite.
What is it for it? What is a scarf?
I think
haven't
it's
played
just like
PUBG.
a rare assault rifle or something.
Oh,
or-
right. Oh, wow. That is so weird.
Yeah.
All I know about PUBG is chicken dinners.
Yeah.
Does it have chicken dinners? Fortnite?
Well, I've never got to the end.
Yeah.
Never managed to actually win Fortnite, so I don't think they do chicken dinner. I think they'll probably do something else.
like a steak.
Yeah, they one up them. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a bit more jokey and cartoony than
Mm.
PUBG.
It's more polished for sure than PUBG.
PUBG's got some stuff going on.
PUBG does, yeah. Like PUBG is cool, but like, man, Fortnite is just nicely made and like.
It's definitely going more for the cartoony though.
Yeah,
the realistic.
yeah.
So you do these giant jumps and you build these ramps just in the middle of doing stuff.
Yeah. How good are you at shooting and building and?
I'm terrible at building,
yeah, same.
but my 11-year-old handles the building.
Oh, cool. Okay. Because yeah, I see people and they're like running, jumping, shooting,
Yeah, and
spinning
the
around, building at the
jumping.
same time. Like,
Yeah, and there'll be people who like jump in the air and then have built themselves a fort to hide in by the time they hit the ground.
yeah, it's incredible.
It's a macro. That's
I-
got to
I-
be cheating.
Yeah, yeah. I even like what was it? That you set hotkeys and stuff like, and I set it so that like I think my middle mouse button is just like build a wall like straight away, and that sort of helped a little bit to be like boom, just do that.
Yep.
But still, it's too much multitasking.
They've got some clever subtleties, like when you're mining for wood, it makes quite a lot of noise, and if you mine a tree all the way down, it makes this huge crashing sound, and
Yeah.
like, everyone nearby will hear it.
And I like that if you're in a building, you can just bust down a wall to get out. Like you don't have
it's
to go
all-
through the front door or anything like that. Like you can get into some. It allows you to get into these weird as fights that
Oh,
just don't
there's
exist.
like these
in-
towers, and you can like land on them when you sort of come in the air bus,
Yeah,
and then people will grenade them at the bottom, and then you fall down.
yeah, yeah. You just land, or like you just land on the roof of a building and just
Just dig your way
dig
down.
your way down. Like it's such a weird thing. And then if people are around, they're fighting and building and all this like crazy stuff is going up and coming down, and it's such a kind of unique way of fighting. I think is
Yeah, and it all happens very fast.
yeah, and it's way too fast for me to keep up with. Yeah.
Guys, I think we should talk. Carl, you've got a Kickstarter going on.
Yeah.
I'm pivoting.
You're pivoting. Cool. And handily, this podcast, assuming this is going out Tuesday, right?
Yep.
As the Kickstarter will still be running because Kickstarters take a month. We're
We'll
about
put it on
halfway
the.
in.
We'll put it on the.
You got to put a link in, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Kickstarter is for Endeavour with no U, so it's VOR Age of
I think a
Sail.
lot of our listeners might not even know that you're the one of the creators of Endeavour.
Yeah, or know what Endeavour is. So we'll get to that in a second. So if you look up Age of Sail, maybe it's a better way to do it on Kickstarter. You'll find this board game. I co-designed it with a friend down in Wellington, Jarrett Gray. And it's quite nice to Kickstarter. It's got the big image, and then it's got Endeavour, and then it's got Carl Visser and Jarrett Gray, and it's like, yes, got
Nice.
my name on it. But we're not managing the Kickstarter. That's been done by a publishing company in Canada called Burnt Island Games, and that's made up of 2 other companies, including one called Grand Gamers Guild, which is a bit confusing because that is GGG.
Oh boy.
To which I said to Chris, no, it wasn't me who chose that name. It was always called that. So the Kickstarter started about 15 days ago and is going well. I think it's about 3,500 people have bought into it now. And it's a Euro game, which is sort of like a lighter strategy game, which you play powers in Europe and you sort of build up and you sail out to other regions and build up your industry and your politics and your culture, which give you more actions and more opportunities, and you colonize the sort of the new realms and grow big sort of Age of Sail empires in about 90 minutes. And then when we first published it, it was through a company called Z-Man Games, and then this is by another company after the rights have come back to us, and it's got all these extra bits added in as well. So if you buy the Commodore edition, which is the more expensive one, you get all these little extras, which give you new rules and options and lots of pretty pieces. And if we get our next goal, you get like wooden tokens instead of cardboard ones.
That's cool.
That is cool. How long have you been sitting on this for? What were the conversations you had going into before the Kickstarter?
Okay, so the rights had come back to us a few years ago, and we weren't entirely happy with the company we'd originally done it with, and they'd also changed hands. There's this big French company called Asmodee, which are pretty cool, but they've bought up like all the game companies around the world, basically. They own heaps of the board game companies, so it's turned into this big industry sort of thing. And we talked to them, and they just sort of wanted to reprint it as is and give us a reasonably small royalty. And it was like, that's not too interesting. We'd be more interested if you were doing an expansion or really pushed it. And then there were a few other companies, and then the ones that were of interest were these guys who are basically Helena and Josh, which is actually the original artist, the original graphic designer of the first version of the game. So he's one of the people involved in it now.
Very cool.
They had plans to make more of it, and we worked out a sort of a royalty deal we were keen on.
Yep. Kickstarter would have been in the back of your mind throughout. It's been huge for board games.
Yeah, so we'd certainly considered doing it ourselves, which is a whole lot more work though. And I'm kind of glad we've got a publisher doing it.
Yeah.
Because like the Kickstarter is kind of a full-time activity for them.
Yeah.
Like they've got to be on top of the comments all the time, and now it's not just you got to do your Kickstarter perfectly and you got to have all the people sign up on day one and you've got to have all these stretch goals. The other side of it is people are used to buying on Kickstarter and they're pushing for more and more stuff. It's funny, you read for the comments and they go, oh, there should be a drawbag. We've got to have a drawbag.
Oh, wow.
And the wooden tokens wasn't a goal they originally had. It was like everyone's pushing for wooden tokens to make the upgraded version better. So they had to go off and get pricing and see if they could do it competitively and shove that in there as well.
Is that, I always wonder with like Kickstarters that do really well, like you have to come up with stretch goals as you sort of go, right? Like you'll start off with a whole bunch of stretch goals.
Well,
and be like,
they
it'll be
have
cool
this
if we get
whole lot mapped out, but then they've had to change it as they've gone and work out what people actually want.
Oh yeah.
And you got to be careful as well. You don't oversell it because, like, if you add something which is in each copy of the game, that's cutting into your margins as well.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to accidentally end up making it too expensive per product.
And I've heard things of people doing Kickstarters where they sort of underestimated how expensive it would be to send the backer rewards and all that sort of stuff.
So in this case, they've done it, like each of the companies involved has done a few Kickstarters before, so they've got a reasonable amount of experience with that, which I think is pretty important these days.
Cool.
Like people want it pretty quickly and they've got pretty clear ideas of what they want, and you basically want to, as soon as the Kickstarter's finished, take the money and hit the go button to get everything printed and made. And have all your designs done.
And that's really good too, that they're like in the comments and able to keep up with people, because
the important steps have been, first, there was this big pre-marketing campaign. There was like a separate site and advertising on the sort of board game communities to get people on the mailing list, so that in the first hour we got to email like a few thousand people saying, the Kickstarter started, you already know about it.
Yep.
Which gives you a big first day burst.
Yeah.
Or first hour burst, which improves your first day, because that's kind of what sets like how seriously people take it.
Okay.
After that.
Yeah, people call it the pace car, and it kind of spikes, and then from there on it kind of trickles off.
Yeah. So I think that's a bit flatter, although we've had a few jumps. And each weekend it sort of jumps up a bit more, so that's cool. And then the last few days are meant to go crazy.
Yeah.
And hopefully double your amount of people.
Well, it's doing really well.
It does seem to be doing pretty well.
What I saw, like, yeah.
Yeah, has it beaten expectations? How are you guys feeling about it?
So when people ask me about expectations, I have big dreams. So, so it's not near the hopes. So but it's doing really well.
I noticed you brought a new car.
I did not buy a new car.
No. I like your new gold chains you've got around.
That's awesome to revive it.
Yeah, so 3,500 is pretty good for the moment, and if it manages to get up to 5,000, I'll be really pleased. And that's 5,000 people backing it. So I think at the moment in Canadian dollars, it's over 300,000 Canadian now.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
How long ago did you design this game?
Oh, that's a good question. It might have been 8 years ago now, maybe even 9. So it took us a while to design it in the first place, and then we sort of sent the prototype off to be assessed, and they were keen. And then it sort of took a year longer than it needed to come out. Like it was like, if this had been out the year before, it would have seemed really bold and out there, but it kind of missed one of the big conventions by a week. So they said, well, we'll go to that convention next year. And that did pretty well when it first came out. So that was good. And then it's sort of been a while. And it sort of only had one sort of big printing then. They didn't keep it in print. But it got published in a few languages, which was cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it was in French and German and Russian and Chinese. And
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was this the first board game you've ever designed, or?
Oh, I designed quite a few. Both me and Jarrett had designed games, but this is the first one that was like published. So,
how did you come to that? To know that this game was that good that you had to.
So the first thing is when it was working with someone else, and I've always found working with someone else is like much better for getting stuff finished and done.
Yep.
And you each get to bring your own strengths to it and cover each other's weaknesses, which is awesome. 2, we decided, okay, we're gonna make a game and it is going to be published. So the goal was we'll make a game for the purpose of being published. Not we've got this game idea. How can we make it best for publishing? So we knew what we wanted. We knew it had to be saleable out of the box. We knew how many pieces it should have, and we knew that it had to be appealing right out of the box like that. We could send someone a prototype and they'd be keen.
Yeah.
So part of it was that goal. It was like our goal is to be published with this.
How did you? So if that was your starting sort of point, like what was the brainstorming or whatever that came in that you arrived at like sailing ships and colonization?
So I'd had this idea kicking around for a while, and I outlined that to Jarrett. So the very initial idea, I said, I've got this game that I want to make, and it kind of looks like this. And it looks a little bit like that, but not like. And then we worked on that basis for a while, and then we made our first one, and we play tested, and we went like, this is not good enough. This is terrible. This took 4 hours to play. It's not quite what we want.
Yeah.
And then we ruminated on that for a while, and then we cut it right back down and sort of got the essence of it and made this much sort of sleeker, sort of more elegant game.
Cool, yeah.
Although in that we kind of lost some of the sort of story elements. We kind of wanted to get all these little historical moments in it, and we kind of made it this sort of this smooth running sort of abstract thing, which was awesome, and it played well. But we've managed to sneak some of the other elements back in with some of the Kickstarter elements, which mostly been Jarrett working on them. But they've got some of those original, we've always wanted to have these special historical events like the South Sea Bubble and missionaries and like sort of large global events in each of these regions.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got a system called exploits, which is basically each each of them line up with 2 regions in the game, and when both those regions are open, it opens this sort of new little game mechanic. So that's like South Sea Bubble, you get to sort of do the investment thing, which was basically when a whole lot of gold and a whole lot of silver came from South America to Europe.
Right.
And this
Stolen.
made everyone rich, and then it's kind of collapsed the economy.
Oh, right.
So which is why it was a bubble. It was actually
Yeah.
turned out to be kind of a miserable thing. Apparently getting all the money in the world and shipping it somewhere is not actually the best thing in the world for your economy. And there were other events, various sort of like the Dutch East India Company and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So getting that element back into the game is really cool, and we get to do that. They became stretch goals in the game, and they're sort of each represented by a card which has got its rules, and some of them have got like components. So if you want some awesome little wooden fortresses, buy the Commodore edition.
Yeah.
Go to Kickstarter, Endeavour Age of Sail.
Nice. That's cool. Did you have to it sounds like you would have had to do a lot of research on like what were these sort of major events in history around.
So it was a bit of history I was already interested in. I actually have a history degree. So,
oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So when I went to university, I did history. And then after that, I went off to Hamilton and got a postgraduate degree in defense and strategic studies.
Okay.
So
what is that?
So strategic studies is basically looking at conflict and warfare and decision making and that kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
So that was when you could actually do it and you weren't in the military, and then it was sort of set up between a few organizations. And since then I got pulled into the army and was more focused on the military side. But when I did it, it was more generally strategy. So
what eras did that focus on? Was it just
so that was between the history department and the politics department at Waikato. So they did have a history of strategy thing, but most of it was like modern international relations and
it was not like
events.
Alexander the Great's battle strategies or anything.
Yeah, although you could study that if you wanted to, but there was a whole lot about the Middle East, for example.
Ah, yeah.
Which was certainly topical at the time and still is, funnily enough.
That's cool. Have you been inspired by the legacy type games?
I do like the legacy games, and we've played them a bit in the office, but I've looked at them carefully, and they're obviously a ton of work.
Oh, yeah.
And really hard to get tested. So I'd love to make one. Weirdly enough, I had this idea for a game like a legacy game ages ago, and I outlined it to someone, and they looked at me like I was crazy.
Oh, right.
I probably was.
Did you tell them that you rip up cards and like...
I certainly did like the idea of permanent changes for future boards, but obviously wasn't bold enough to do that at the time. But I think if you look at who has successfully made a legacy game, Rob Davio, who used to like construct games at Hasbro, used to be the person who organized stuff with printers and stuff. And then there's the guy who designed Pandemic, but he was a user experience guy at Yahoo. So those sort of extreme focus on one, able to construct one, and two, able to actually think about how it's played and used, and they do a lot of video testing. They did a really good GDC talk about making Pandemic Legacy.
Yeah.
And they'll actually have people record their play, and then they'll change the legacy game based on, like, they'll go through it and make a list of issues and put them in, like, basically in an issue tracker, and then make changes in their game based on watching people play on the video. And I remember them saying they found that you really... people soon forget about the camera, and you get to see them in their native element playing the game, and you get to see them smoking dope or whatever at home while they're playing. Cool.
So for listeners, like a legacy game, you know what a legacy game is? Where
I know what Pandemic is.
Oh yeah, do you know what a legacy game is?
No.
So it's I think the first one was Risk Legacy, right?
Yeah,
and so it's a game where it's played over, like, the Risk one is played over I think 15 games. And you make permanent changes every game session, and so you're like you'll add stickers to the board that are permanently there, and like whole sections of this board will be like either nuked or like have some sort of disease thing, or cities will be put there, and you're also creating factions where you'll have a choice of like abilities, and like if the one you don't choose, you'll rip up the card and it's unusable again. And you're doing a lot of like ripping up cards and things like that. And there's events that will be triggered inside sealed envelopes.
Yeah.
And on the envelope it'll say what triggers it, and then you open it up and you find out what's inside it. It's usually a whole bunch of new rules and or a new race or whatever.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and he didn't the creator of that made a game that sounds a little bit like Endeavor recently, didn't he?
That was Seafall.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that close, but you have your ships and they go out and you get colonies and stuff, and that was actually not as good, I thought, as some of the other Legacy games. That got pretty complicated and mired down a bit. But
do you think he just went, because that was not based on anything, right?
So no, it wasn't based on a core game, so it was its own game as well as being the Legacy game. And I think it's, you know how like a show car has all the features?
He just went all out with it.
All out.
Yeah.
And the features were awesome.
Yeah.
But I think it was a bit too ambitious and a bit too ridiculous.
Yeah. How many games in that campaign was there?
Oh, there was quite a lot, I think.
Yeah.
I think there might have been 18 or so in the one we played.
Because I think a game like that is awesome, but if it starts getting too complicated and you're like, oh man, I've got 8 more games of this until we actually reach the end, and the games are starting to take ages, like they started to do when we were playing Risk Legacy.
Yeah.
Like at the start,
we had 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Minutes,
and then it turned into 3 hours towards the end or maybe 2 hours. But still, like, it was starting to drag on, and it was like, oh my God, this is taking ages.
Yeah. Pandemic Legacy was cool, though. It had much more of a story, like a TV series kind of thing. So that worked pretty well. But we weren't talking about that. We were talking about Endeavor. You should go back Endeavor on Kickstarter.
I remember asking you yesterday. We were talking about some of this at lunch. And I asked you if all this Endeavor stuff that you've been working on recently has motivated you to get back in there and design and maybe publish newer board games with your buddy?
So it'd be cool to work with Jared again, although it's very difficult when he's in Wellington, I'm in Auckland. And I'm always kind of got game ideas pottering along, but in practice, part of Excel takes a fair bit of effort. I also video games have some advantages. Like with a board game, you've got to have your design really set, and then it goes printed and gets shipped out, and you can't do like a last minute patch.
Yeah, you can't do a day one patch to a board
No,
game.
you've got to be, actually, you're pretty right.
Yeah.
So I think video games have some advantages. So I'd be keen to just do a little like game maker style game.
Yep.
As well. But yeah, I'd also be keen for a board game as well.
Do you are there board game meetups in town?
Yeah, so there's the Game Artisans. So there's a few board game groups that meet together and play. There's also a group called the Game Artisans of New Zealand.
Okay.
Which have got a Facebook group, and you can find out how to join. If you go Game Artisans of New Zealand into Facebook, you can find them. And that's for people who make games.
Oh, cool.
And there's actually quite a few board game makers in New Zealand, like a whole lot of amateur ones, but there's also a few professionals. Like there's Shem down in Wellington, who's had a whole lot of Kickstarters all of his own.
Oh, cool.
So I think his brother's done a lot of the art, and some other people have done the art, and they're I'm trying to remember the name of one of the successful ones. Explorers of the North Sea was a big one. And then there's a few people in Auckland who also make games. So if you're into making games, they're good for, they have prototyping meetups in Auckland and in Wellington.
That's cool.
Yeah. So check out that Kickstarter. We'll put it on the Facebook page.
Yeah, we'll put a link to it.
Yeah. Do we want to wrap it up?
Yeah, unless you've got some final words about this Kickstarter. You got a new stretch goal to...
Oh, so there's the wooden tokens. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about the next one, but there's a really cool one coming.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Yeah. Keep an eye on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, so they only show a couple at a time, which I think is one, to keep the interest up, and two, to have a bit more control of, because you don't know quite how many people you're going to have.
Yeah. How many more days left?
I think it's like 13 or 14 days to go. Like it's actually quite a long... Doesn't sound like long. You sort of go 30 days. That'll give people enough time to find it. But when you're in the middle of it, it's like, oh, it's been going on for so long, and it's got so long to go.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh well, so I guess that's it for the for this episode.
Yeah, Carl. Thanks for dropping by.
No problem.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks. You can, if you got any questions, you can email us at frontseatquestions@gmail.com. We're on Twitter at frontseatcast. Our Facebook is facebook.com/frontseatcast, and our WordPress is frontseatgamer.wordpress.com, and we're on YouTube, just youtube.com/frontseatcast. Rate us on iTunes. That would be really cool. I haven't even checked to see if we've had new ratings or not. Like, your buddy Andy was the only person that rated us on there.
I wanna plug another thing. Carl, do you have you're on Twitter, right?
I'm on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, for those who want to follow Carl.
Oh, yes.
How would you go about doing that?
At CarlDev, which is QARLDEV.
Of course.
We'll chuck that up on Facebook as well, and our own Twitter as well.
Blake, you're on it. Like, we haven't given out personal Twitter accounts.
No.
But for if anyone wanted to follow us. Are you...
Although people have found me.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know you had one, Sav.
I do, and I don't use it.
Sav started one and like a few years ago, and then I followed him, and then he deleted it.
Wait, I think I still got it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you... Okay.
I'm looking for a
He
reason
just
to
muted
use.
you.
Yeah, I think
Blocked.
I think he blocked this guy.
I think I'm still there. And if people follow me, then it will give me a reason to.
So
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
your Twitter?
But I'm typically not big into social media.
What's the address?
I think it's like @Severn.
At Savern.
I think-
Like
Did you-
SAVEUN.
Yeah, EUN. It's something along those lines.
SAVEUN.
I think I've got like a changed avatar, so you should know whether or not you've got me or some other person. But also, I haven't used it in such a long time that it might not even be @Severn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you don't
just-
even remember.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was
it's been-
Severn.
It's been so long. I think it's @Severn.
Did you didn't even use it for Turret Town?
No.
Oh, man.
Turret Town is one of those things that I launched. It wasn't well received, and I was just like, all right, I'm burning bridges. I'm going to move on to the next thing.
That's like 90% of mobile games is like you launch it and it's like, you know, it doesn't do as well as Angry Birds, so you go,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Well, that happened, and I didn't feel like I needed to invest more time in tweeting Turret Town to my 3 followers
Oh,
on
man.
Twitter or whatever.
You gotta get those numbers up, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I never really cared. Well, Twitter's not big here in New Zealand, I've found.
Yeah, I don't know. I used to like when I first joined Twitter, it was like a new thing, and it was like this is great and this is cool, and now it's just news from America about people being angry about politics, and it just bums me out.
Yeah. Dude, is the Australasian podcasting network still a thing?
Yeah. There you can check them out on Twitter at #AGPN, and their Facebook group is facebook.com/groups AGPN network, and there's a whole bunch of Australasian gaming podcasts on there. So thanks again, Carl, for coming in and chatting with us. And thanks to Vern for...
Blake, you're a pro, man. You've done it, yeah.
Oh, man, I hate hosting. I swore I'd never host again, but
And
somehow
now you've
it's
done
happened.
it again.
Yeah,
So
I've ruined
practiced.
I've ruined people again for listening to me hosting.
It's good. You can
All
only
right.
get better. You know?
Hope so. All right, thanks. All right, so that's it. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Nick will probably be away again, and we'll have another guest. So see yous. Bye.
We didn't even talk about Looper.
No.
Looper.
She wants some opinions.
Well, the movie Looper.
I hate the movie Looper.
Did you know this?
I didn't know you hated it.
I absolutely hate it.
Oh man. Oh wait.
Like this is the movie. The movie is broken. I managed to ruin it for Jake D. He said, "Well, why didn't you like it?" And I told him, I broke down the reason, and he went, "I didn't notice that. I think I hate it too."
Was it Okay, why was the reason?
That's not to do with the time travel weirdness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it to do with like something about in the future they can't kill people, but without like being
So the
out or
two
something like
important things in this movie that happen that drive every bit of plot and every bit of emotional response are: one, in the future you can't kill people.
Yeah.
And two, in the future they killed his wife.
Yeah. That's what I was.
And these two things are absolutely contradictory.
Yeah. But they say about how they killed his wife, so sort of like they just sort of brush over it.
They brushed over it. But also, in the future where you can't kill people, he's an assassin.
Yeah, I know. He is an assassin. That's right.
They show up to his house with guns
Yeah.
when you can't kill people. Kill his wife and get rid of the body. If you can just get rid of the body, then why do you send people into the past? That's ridiculous.
Well, why don't they kill people and then send them into the past?
But so
why do they have to send them to the past alive?
So the movie is
like
it's just bollocks.
Because the time travel is just basically like a garbage dispenser.
But that's not how they pitch it. It's like as soon as you kill someone in the future, you get found out, which I was willing to buy into. That's an idea that forensic science has advanced so much. You literally can't kill people, except
when you can.
Except when you can, which is apparently all the time.
Well, it happened in China. He moved to China, so maybe things are different.
Well, then you don't bother with sending people to the past. You send them to China.
You can invent teleportation instead of time travel. There's just a village in
movie
China with all these
broken.
American bodies flying. Yeah.
But admittedly, I don't get upset about the latest Star Wars, where I've heard people rail against the fact that they broke physics in all of Star Wars with that.
How do they break physics?
So you know how there's the bit where the ship goes to light speed and punches through the other ship?
Yeah.
Well, why don't they always do that?
Yeah, I know.
Why does the Death Star exist if you can just light speed through things? You just do that with all your ships, blow up all the planets you want.
Yeah, I know that's
And why did they do it with that ship? They could have done it with any of the ships that were about to die.
They had so many ships that were falling. They could have just turned around. And
Yeah. Why has this not come up in the rest of any of the movies?
Yeah. But the thing is, it looked cool. So
that was a cool idea, and it doesn't worry me at all.
Yeah.
But when someone broke this down, it's like, oh yeah, I can see you've been upset by that. Yeah. You like your worlds to be consistent. Yeah. But I'd never bought into Star Wars as a consistent thing at all. It's not like really. Space wizards.
Yeah, I know that's a thing. Like there's space wizards.
As soon as they're space wizards, I'm not judging it by sci-fi logic.
I also heard people complaining about how Luke Skywalker does that force projection thing, and people being like, he could. That was never established before that anyone could do that. I'm like,
I'm just space wizards.
It's space wizards. What are you talking about?
All the time they get to do a new cool thing you've never seen before.
They're like okay, so people can come back as ghosts, but people can't project their
absolutely. Why not?
Why are you drawing the line on this?
Now he's become an elder master. His master did it after he was dead. So I
think people just get angry at things for fun.
But I can understand the ship going to light speed, blowing up the other ship, upsetting people. But it didn't worry me because space wizards.
Yeah, the ship blowing up the other ship. There wasn't enough conditions around it. Like if that happened, they should have been like, I don't know. There's some.
Yeah, they should have had to. Oh my gosh, we have to override the engine and blah 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 blah. But it was just like no, punch through.
Yeah.
Boom. It's like. Well,
do that all the time.
Yeah. Blow up planets. Don't need a Death Star.
No. Maybe it's an economic decision.
Maybe.
Where you need a larger ship.
Dude, they built the fucking Death Star.
Can that thing fly?
Yes. Yeah, it moves around.
Yeah, it moves around. It
goes from place to place.
It's
not really useful if you put it next to one planet and you blow up that planet and you go out there taking something.
Alright, that's it.
And you got towboat.
But you never see it come out of hyperspace do the. Yeah. It's always just because in Rogue One it suddenly appeared and you're like, oh yeah, it suddenly came out of hyperspace and it's suddenly there, but you never saw it because I think that would look stupid. Yeah. So they don't show it, which is rude.
But the hyperspace versus the going at light speed are different kind of ideas as well. So.
Yeah, people didn't like that movie.
So I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, but there was my problem was I got way I did it to myself. I got way too invested in the mystery of like who Snoke is and who's Rey's parents, and I was like, I remember the scene when they enter into Snoke's like throne room. I was like, I can't believe it. We're gonna find out who this guy is. This is amazing. 2 years, 2 years of speculation is finally gonna find out once and for all who he is, and he just dies. And I was like, I couldn't enjoy that fight that happened because I was.
Although they didn't do what they did with the prequels, which was like, here's General Grievous.
Oh, yeah.
And to know who he was, you had to have read the comics and the books, and you had to be into like all the transmedia.
All the extra stuff. You're gonna have to read the literature.
Yeah, that's right. And a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
He's gone in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And has this entire backstory you
Yeah.
never get explained to you.
Which I think, like, at the time, I hated that because it was not what I was expecting. But the more I've thought about it, I'm like, I do kind of like that. That, like, I was so built up to, like, who this guy is, and then they're just like, don't worry about it. He's